All right, we're live. So, one of the biggest things, that I've learned on this entire diet challenge is in relation to coffee and caffeine and my reliance on it. So when I was on Carnivore, I did not have any coffee, no caffeine, and I really mentioned how those first 2 weeks without it were super challenging for me. Once I made it past 2 weeks, it was pretty solid. Specifically that fourth week, I was really fine without it. But once I was able to have caffeine again and have coffee on my plant-based diet, I really opened the floodgates. I kind of went wild with it, honestly. I had like 2 pots on my first day, second pot of coffee at 3 p.m., which I never ever do. And it became super obvious to me how caffeine impacts my sleep, my recovery, my just mental clarity throughout the day. And I was really encouraged to limit my caffeine intake. I really missed my morning coffee when I was on Carnivore, so I was wondering, how can I still have my morning coffee without caffeine? Obvious answer would be decaf. Kind of interesting though, I've never understood decaf, I've never gotten the point of it, but here I was, figuring out that it would be a perfect solution to the problem I was trying to solve. So, started to look up decaf, and I immediately learned that almost all decaf is made with a decaffeination process where the caffeine is stripped from the bean using a chemical called methylene chloride, which is the same chemical that's used in paint thinner. So when I read this, I was like, this is crazy. Does anybody know about this? There's no way that I'm drinking this. But there's got to be like another option out there, right? So I did look around, and there is something called Swiss water processed. And Swiss water processed decaf just removes the caffeine from the coffee bean, without using anything but water. So much healthier, much more in line with my interests here. So I went out to try to find some Swiss water processed decaf. Oddly enough, it's pretty challenging to find. They do sell it online easily, but if you go to a normal grocery store, I was not able to find it at 2 stores. If it's not labeled Swiss water processed, then it's definitely made using that paint thinner stuff. So I did find some at Whole Foods. Handy dandy Whole Foods here, you can see Swiss water decaffeinated. So when I found this stuff, I was really optimistic that this was going to, maybe I can focus here, hold on. So when I found this stuff, I was really optimistic that this was going to be a full-time thing for me. I was like, great, I've got my decaf coffee, I'm going to have my morning coffee, I don't need my caffeine, we're good to go. Well, immediately I recognized, I could tell that there's no caffeine in it. There was no focus, no, mental alertness, none of the benefits that caffeine provides. Obviously it doesn't have caffeine, so there were none of those. So that really made me become interested in how can I just leverage the benefits of caffeine or be a little bit more in control of how I'm tapping into them. So this decaf, really what I'm looking at now is trying to limit my caffeine consumption to either, 3 weeks a month maybe, or just looping in this decaf a couple times a week, a couple times every 2 weeks, maybe up to then doing a week off of caffeine per month. But what I really recognized once I started to have this is that it really tasted a bit empty. It was almost like a dead coffee in a way. So what I've been doing to add a little bit of energy boost to it and just add a little oomph to it is I've been making this home remedy of ashwagandha powder, coconut oil, honey, cinnamon, and Himalayan sea salt. And across these 5 ingredients, there's a decent bit of natural energy properties. Honey's got some energy in it. Himalayan sea salt is a natural electrolyte that's got some energy boost in it. The other ingredients just have natural health benefits. And as I'm learning more about herbs and adaptogens in my plant-based diet, I really enjoyed coming across this recipe that I could implement that would, 1, give me a little bit of an energy boost with my decaf coffee, and 2, just make it taste a little bit better. I really love black coffee, so the idea of going from a caffeine black coffee to a decaf dead black coffee, I just didn't love. So looping these ingredients and this little mixture together keeps it interesting for me. Gives me a little bit of, at the very least, a placebo effect, honestly, of a little bit of energy, alertness, a little bit of something to start my day. But this is just something that I've been learning. I didn't really expect to have any caffeine takeaways from this diet challenge. Honestly, didn't even cross my mind. But it's become super interesting to me, one, just how reliant I am on caffeine, how much I really crave it, and it's been really encouraging for me to do something about that and try to just get a little bit more control over it. So this is what I'm trying out. I'm having fun with it so far. I will say that I'm still relying on caffeine a little more than I'd like to admit. But hey, I've got the systems in place over here to try to figure out how to beat that. So I'll be chasing that next. If you've got any questions, please hit me up. If you are looking to decrease your caffeine intake or just get a better stranglehold on it, Swiss water process is the way to go. But otherwise, we'll keep moving on, keep trucking forward with this. Thank you so much for checking this out, and I'll check back in soon. Peace.